Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the July 30th, 2012 Board of Selectmen meeting. Call the meeting to order. I want to remind everybody that this meeting is being video and audio taped. So with that, next on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Amy Leiden, our Assistant Secretary, is is busy at her desk, so I'm going to ask her to lead us in the pledge. Would you, Amy?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Amy. Okay. Okay, just a reminder, it is now 7:02. At 7:05 to 7:15 is Citizens Query. We'll start Citizen Query in approximately 3 minutes. In the meantime, there's Chairman's comments. I have no comments tonight. And we'll move on to, first of all, we have two appointments tonight. We have an appointment at 7:15 with Treasurer Collector Karen Summit, and Water Superintendent John Rizzer, and Water Department Business Manager Laura Hamilton to discuss electronic billing and for signing the MWPAT documents for the water treatment plant. Also at 7:30, we have an appointment with Building Inspector Ken Watt to discuss zoning administration and CBA case number A12-07-34- at 36 Pleasant Street here in town. So until then, we'll move on to general business. General business. Hi, Laura. Okay, general business. Request from the YMCA to hold a road race. The Ipswich Family YMCA would like to host a 5-mile run in Rowley on Saturday, September 29th, 2012, starting at 9 a.m. to raise money for their All Financial Assistance Program. Less than 200 runners are expected to take this route. Start on Bradford Street in front of the Rowley VFW, right onto Summer Street, left onto Main Street, left onto Jellison Road, left onto Cross Street, right onto Central Street, left onto Bennett Hill Road, left onto Weathersfield Street, right onto Bradford Street, finish at the Rowley VFW. All questions and concerns from the police chief, fire chief, coordinator of health services, highway supervisor, surveyor, and Parks and Recreation Committee have been satisfactorily addressed. There are no outstanding concerns from these departments. We have requested a certificate of insurance listing the town of Rowley as an additional insured with general liability limits of $1 million per occurrence and $2 million general aggregate. Okay. So, any questions from the board? Everybody look through the packet. Everything seems to be in order.
Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming the route that they gave us on the cover letter is the one that they're going to be using, because there was an email in here on the second page that mentioned it was going to be the same route as the 2010 application.
Was that different?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm just asking, because it does talk about VFW proceeding through town to Jellison Street and over Cross Street to Central and back to the same course as shown in 2010.
And I believe that went up Bennett Hill, didn't it? If I remember right.
Well, if it is, then it's probably the same route.
Yeah.
The same as the old Memorial Day race from a few years back.
Yeah, I caught Jerry on walking the course one day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if this superseded that or whether that superseded this. That's all I was
Of course, I caught on Bradford Street. And,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in the packet, there is a course description provided by the YMCA that does list the streets. So if the vote included what's on there.
What's on this?
Is what's in the narration that you just read.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I just want to make sure it was one or the other, and if it was the other, where it was actually going.
Let's see if there's anything else. I don't see. Everything else seems to be in order. Any other questions from the board?
I have no questions.
No question.
No questions. Okay. Everything seems to be in order here. Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion. We grant the request from the YMCA to hold the road race Saturday, September 29th, 2/12, starting at 9 a.m.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Citizen query has started as of 2 minutes ago. It is now 12 minutes past the hour. Citizen query will continue until 7:15. Okay, moving on. Request from Building Inspector Ken Ward to lift the hiring freeze for the administrative assistant position. Thereby requesting that the Board of Selectmen lift the hiring freeze for the inspection department secretary. Thank you, Ken. Any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm just curious why they calling it administrative assistant, and it was secretary from day one.
there was a rewrite of that job description, just some job title change. A while back, Bob, you were on the personnel board.
Okay, I remember that. Okay, yes.
Not as, it was just a,
It's just a description,
Some-
change in the description of the,
some minor, it was just a minor job title change.
All right, do the dollars change?
I believe it's the same, it's a pay grade
I don't-
5.
yes, pay grade. I don't believe it's changed at all. No, we didn't vote to change that. All it was is just a, as I can remember. It
Yeah.
was just the title of the job, that was it. Okay. Anything else from anybody else?
Nope.
Okay. So a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion. We lift the hiring freeze.
Do I have a second?
Building inspector.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to general business number 3, accept donation from Bob Snow. Accept donation from Bob Snow. Bob Snow donated $68 towards the prizes for Independence Day celebration. Children's races. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to accept this gift. Do I have a motion from the board?
What does this generate? What does that go into the rec
That goes
department?
into the Selectmen's General Fund for recreation that we have. Okay, so that was all, just so that they would
Pay
have
for the-
prizes.
For this stuff, for the. So moved, but I'd like to say thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Me too.
Thank you very much, Bob, and I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Okay. Okay. Time is 10 after 7. Okay, William P. DeLuca III. This is, send a thank you letter to the Bank of New England for open space land donation. Dear Mr. DeLuca, please accept our thanks and gratitude to the Bank of New England for donating 3 parcels of land on Weathersfield Street to the town of Rowley. These parcels of land are now permanently protected as conservation land. These parcels consist of nearly 5 acres of land and border Mill River. This is a prime wild area of wildlife habitat and is near other protected parcels in this neighborhood. Again, we are thankful to you and the Bank of New England for this gracious donation to the town. With sincere appreciation, Robert Snow, Chairman, G. Robert Murray, Vice Chairman, Joseph Perry, Clerk, Jack Cook, Selectman, Stuart L. Dalzell, Senior, Selectman. Do I have a motion to sign this letter?
So move.
Do I have a second?
A little bit.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll need to sign this and send this off to Mr. Luker. Very gracious of him. In the bank. What? Joe? Oops, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, moving on. General business, number 5, designate assistant town accountant position, special municipal employee. Designate assistant town accountant position, special municipal employee. In reviewing the list of special municipal employees, Debbie noticed that the position of assistant town accountant is not on the list. Debbie is recommending that this part of the position is designated special municipal employee status by a vote of the Board of Selectmen. Any discussion from the board?
Does this mean during an emergency of some sort?
Well, you know, the assistant town accountant position is a part-time position, and this would allow that position under 268A to have the ability to have some of a less restrictive situation for some of the exemptions under the state ethics law, so.
Oh.
In terms of the section of the law that deals with multiple contracts in a municipality.
Any other questions from the board? Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Old business, we have about another minute for appointment, and what should I hold this on? I think I should hold,
It's up to you.
yeah.
I can leave.
I don't want you to leave. We'll do it afterwards, okay? We'll come back to that. So, let me see. Okay, has everybody read the minutes for July 16th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any questions, any comments on the minutes for July 16th, 2012?
I didn't find any problems.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes for July 16th, 2012?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a
Accept
second?
minutes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Took care of that. It is now 7:15. Citizen query is now over. Okay, at 7:15, we have an appointment. Treasurer Collector Karen Summit is here. Karen, want to come forward?
Sure.
On and seat. Okay, Treasurer Collector Karen Summit. Wait a minute, let me see, make sure I got the correct one. Okay, we do this portion first, okay. Laura, come on up. Okay. Okay, John is not going to be with us tonight?
No.
Okay. Okay, Treasurer Collector Karen Summit, Water Superintendent John Rizza, unfortunately not be with us tonight. Water Department Business Manager Laura Hamilton, who is here. Thank you, Laura. To discuss electronic billing and for the signing of Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust documents for water treatment. E-billing, the Water Department and the tax collector would like to offer electronic billing of water bills and property tax bills. The State Department of Revenue Division of Local Services has issued guidelines on how a municipality can offer electronic billing, e-billing. Lucas has reviewed the information provided to Debbie Egan and has issued an attached memorandum. Judy Pickett and Attorney Greg Mayo of Brackett and Lucas advised the town adhere to the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 60, Section 3A, parenthesis B, in the implication in the wording in enrollment process. See attachment memo. The Board of Selectmen must first vote to approve e-billing as a billing method in accordance with Massachusetts General Law 60, Section 3A, parenthesis B. And the board's vote include the minimum requirements as set forth in Massachusetts Department of Revenue, IGR number 12 in the e-billing enrollment follow the process outlined in the legal memo from Brackett and Lucas. Okay, with that, turn it over to you, Karen, and give us a little bit more, and to you, Laura, whoever can.
Well, this basically gives taxpayers and ratepayers for the water department another option. There are a lot of people that don't like to get bills in the mail. From a real estate perspective, I would think it would be something that would appeal to people who maybe have their mortgage escrow their taxes. We're quarterly billing, so we only send out bills 4 times a year, but the water department is now monthly billing.
Monthly billing.
And it's an opportunity for them and for us to save some money.
How many people partake in e-billing right now? Do we know?
Well, we don't have any.
I'm sorry.
Right. But, you know, like I said, it's an option.
It's an option. Okay. So, Laura?
For us, we think we're gonna probably get 100 people roughly a month. We look at the number of people that are paying at Unibank online, and we think that's gonna be the people that will sign up for e-bills. So that will save us the postage for 100 people times 12 months. So it's a start. It's a start into looking at, you know, saving our ratepayers and reducing our rates, which is one of our goals. You know, we think it's, you know, something we can do in-house. Karen and I have looked at companies that are offering this product. Realistically, there's no cost savings for us to use a vendor to do this. So the water department, we looked at this with our software vendor, who actually has a program that we can, at no cost to us, use. And that means that, you know, Karen and I in our office will be maintaining the opting in and out. It'll be done on the website at ebills@rowleywater.com or ebills@townofrowley.org, and you opt in. And what we heard from vendors is most people opt in and not a lot of people opt out. So if you move out of town, Karen and I are going to have to kind of maintain, you know, making sure the bills go to the right people. And we have mechanisms already built into how we do our sign-offs that we can manage that.
The only hassle would be if you change banks. That would be for the.
No, this is just a bill.
Just get a bill.
Definitely bill.
Yeah.
You can still come in and pay us, you know, with cash or a check, or you can go online and pay us online. We just won't be mailing the bill to you.
Mailing the bill out to you. Okay.
So it'll just come to your iPad or to your phone or
Okay,
your
I
home
see.
computer, and it'll say Rowley.
So I got a little confused. All right.
That's okay. We want to go there.
So the
But-
payment process will remain the same.
It'll remain the same. We're going to link, in the water department, we can link, we'll send you your e-bill and we'll link you to Unibank so you can pay right online with the one email if you choose to do that, depending on how people's habits are.
you know, we find with the water department, people are paying us within the discount period, so we're mailing, we're gonna mail by Friday this week, and by the 20th of the month, almost 90% of our people are paid. So we're getting pretty quick response to the water department billing. So we think with the e-bills, we're gonna get much quicker response.
Sure.
So the money's in our bank account.
I know, I do that with a credit card. It's so
Yeah,
much-
sure.
It's so much easier. It just comes right across, and
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
usually, way ahead of it. I know it's going to come in at a certain date, boom, it goes out, kind of
Yeah.
wherever. So it makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the board?
No question.
No questions? Okay.
The only thing I would ask is, make sure that the security is good, so we don't lose any data.
Right.
I don't know what our procedure is at this point and how that's handled.
Well, anything that has money attached to it is at Unibank,
Yeah.
which is a secure site.
Okay,
That's their bank site.
so is the bill gonna be generated from Unibank, or is it coming from the treasurer's office slash?
So basically, the e-bills are built into our software mailing package, our billing system.
On the town's computer?
Right, so we have, name, address, we got a space now for e-bills.
Okay,
So, it's protected through our office, and we're gonna create like an Excel sheet, for e-bills. And we'll get an affidavit of mailing e-bills, like we get an affidavit of mailing.
right. But
It's
that's
a
what-
public list, though, I think. Is that your question?
Well, I don't know how much data that they can actually get. I mean, if they get a name and address, that's probably in the phone book at this point.
Right. Right.
But I just, you stop and think about somebody like TJ Maxx,
Yeah,
lost
right,
hundreds of thousands of accounts.
right.
Which makes me a little nervous. I don't know about anybody else, but just when we start to think about doing these things that way, I just get a little bit concerned that we don't have enough
Yeah.
protection, or we may need more protection.
That is a good
So-
point, Bob.
Yeah. I can talk to our IT.
Yeah, and like I said, Karen, if it's all we're dealing with is a name and address,
Right,
there's
Right.
no credit card numbers or any of this kind of
exactly,
stuff that's
exactly. It's
recorded.
nothing that you couldn't get by walking into the assessor's office and sitting down at their computer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bank
basically, all this is just,
accounts or whatever.
as I understand it,
Right.
it's just, you're just going to get a email to the house stating that your bill is now requested by the water department at this particular date, and you have so many days in order to pay your bill.
You're gonna
Right.
get your actual bill emailed to you.
Right.
So it's gonna
Right.
look exactly like you would get in the mail.
Right.
It's gonna just
So it's
be
just like a
emailed.
credit card bill.
Right.
that
Mhm.
You get it notified.
It'll look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So there's not really, with a TJ Maxx problem where they had the credit card numbers and all that.
Right, right,
problem.
right.
So,
But anything financial is at the bank, is at Unibank.
Okay.
And we're not selling any of the lists, just so that's clear too. Right. We don't sell any of our email.
I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Well, there are companies out there that,
I
doing
understand,
this, so.
private industry does that all the time,
yeah.
but I don't think the town should be in that business.
No,
Yeah.
heavens no.
No. Any other questions to the board?
Good.
Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the e-billing is,
All right, thank you.
okay.
Now, did we get assigned any documents or anything, or?
I don't know. I didn't see any
The
tags.
requirement was just that the selectmen vote
Okay.
to authorize it, and then the motion from Selectman Perry.
Could I make sure that the motion reflects the opinion from town council?
I think that's what I had here.
Okay.
You have
Do you want me to
approve
read that?
e-billing, and that the vote include the minimum requirements as set forth in Mass Department of Revenue, IGR 12204, and that e-billing enrollment process, follow the process outlined in the legal memo
Right.
from Brackett and Lucas.
Mhm.
That's what the motion,
Right.
Okay, as long as
That
that's
last
reflected,
paragraph.
that'll be fine.
Okay. Do you want to re-vote that, or?
Well, as long as we're under the understanding that we
Understanding,
voted,
that's what-
that that's
that
what we were
what it was.
voting
Yes.
on.
Right, that's the motion that,
Okay.
yep.
That'll be fine.
All right. All right, moving on to number 2, 7/15 appointment, and that is water treatment plant loan documents. Board of Selectmen needs to vote to issue a bond or bonds in the aggregate principal in the amount not to exceed $7,988,000. A member of the Board of Selectmen needs to make a motion and read the numbers 1 through 6 attachment. It should not be Selectman Joe Perry, because he would be certified as the clerk of the board. Then another selectman seconds the motion, and the vote is called. The Board of Selectmen needs to follow this process after the vote is taken. The board signs the interim loan note green paper. The board, the Board of Selectmen votes to sign the certificate of $7,988,000 loan note. The board signs 4 copies of the certificate. Okay, Joe Perry, the clerk of the board, certifies the vote and signs 4 copies. So with that, Mr. Murray, I will...
Chairman.
Wait, oh, excuse me one second.
I'm sorry,
You want to explain it to us?
The loan amount is $10,997,000?
$7 million. $7,988,000.
I don't believe that's correct.
$7,988,000. That's what I have here.
No, that's
Is
from
it
the
a
green,
typo?
no, that was on the green, I'm sorry, that was taken off.
Okay.
Principal amount here, interim loan note.
Yeah. Is this what they're giving you beginning?
I guess so. I don't see this paperwork. It's gonna be
This is
more.
the interim.
Yeah.
There'll be another interim before we're finished.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just part A.
Yes,
Part-
yes.
And you'll come in for
For
another.
a year, they get it.
Right.
Okay.
That's the
You'll be
money
adding, because you got,
in May.
yeah, you got a lot.
Right, right.
Okay. So,
All set, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Murray,
I move that the town shall issue a bond or bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $7,988,000, the bonds, pursuant to Chapter 29C, Section 44 of the General Laws and votes of the town passed May 30th, 2010, Article 20, for $7,697,000, which authorized a total borrowing of $9 million. And April 30th, 2012, Article 13, $1,303,000, which authorized a total borrowing of $3,300,000 for the drinking water project identified in such votes, the project. That anticipation of the issuance of the bonds, the treasurer is authorized to issue an interim loan note or notes, the notes, from time to time in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $7,988,000. That each bond or note shall be issued as a single registered security and sold to the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust, the trust, at a price determined pursuant to the loan agreement. That the treasurer is authorized to determine the date, the form, the maximum interest rate, and the principal maturities of each bond and note, and to execute a loan agreement or agreements with the trust with respect to the sale of the bonds and notes, such date from maturities and the specific interest rate or rates of the bonds and notes to be approved by a majority of the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer as evidenced by their execution of the bonds or notes. That all action taken to date by the town and its officials and agents to carry out the project and its financing, including the execution of any loan commitment or agreement by the treasurer, are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed, and that the treasurer and the other appropriate town officials are each hereby authorized to take any and all actions necessary and convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including execution and delivery of the loan agreements or agreement, and the project regulatory agreement or agreements relating to the project.
I have a second.
Second.
I have the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So with that, you have many documents to sign here?
There should be
It's all listed on that
copies of-
front sheet, Bob. I've got
Okay.
the green paper signed first
So, okay.
by the board.
Sign this one at a time, or should I just sign all?
The board should just sign that first right now.
Okay, let's sign. Bob. Joe. Joe. Stu.
Thank you.
And next document.
That's the certificate. So I would call for a motion for that, Mr. Chairman, that the board sign the certificate. That will also be signed at a later time by the town clerk and the treasurer.
Okay. That's on the certificate.
So
Do I have a motion for the treasurer to sign the certificate?
No,
No.
Mr. Chairman, a motion for the Board of Selectmen to sign the certificate. It's the second,
Oh,
Set.
the second. Okay.
which
Do I-
is a document that will also have the signatories of the treasurer and the town clerk, but that will be done at a later time.
Okay,
So there are 4 copies of the certificate.
okay. Do I have a motion to sign the certificate?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That right there. It's like buying a house, isn't it?
A little bit more though, for the price of the house.
A little bit.
I'll buy an island with that money.
Well, let's put it a very expensive house. Okay, that has to be done first, then Joe gets to sign.
And the clerk will sign to certify all the actions that have just taken place. And there will be 4 copies for Joe to sign.
To Joe. Joe.
Jack.
Jack, sure. We don't need a motion for the clerk to sign, do we? Or is it just automatic?
No, the clerk has to sign
Has to
by
sign.
right, the clerk of the board certifying the action.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks, Lou.
Also,
Mr. Chairman, everything looks to be in order.
okay, thank you. Seems to be in order. Copies. Do you need to, she sign that at a later date or sign now?
Yeah, so actually we can give those to Mrs. Summit at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karen,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay. Is there, Karen,
Oh,
Karen, you can go, just Laurie, stay for a second.
Okay.
Okay, Karen, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna take Tim,
If you could, John Rezar obviously isn't here tonight, but,
Okay.
so the board may want to just send the memo if there's discussion, if Laura can communicate that back to the
okay, I'm
board.
just gonna read this, okay? Tim Southall from Recreation Department is here. I'm just gonna take this new business at, one, out of, segment just for this, and Laura, just be representing the Water Department, okay? Discuss soil at Brad Street Recreation parcel. The Parks and Recreation Committee requests a stockpile of dirt, if possible, from the water treatment construction project to be used for the development of the playing fields at Brad Street property. Tim Southall has a conflict, well, he does not have the conflict. He's here with us tonight, okay? The Board of Selectmen wish to send a letter to the Water Board Commissioners asking if they to send a few truckloads of soil over to the Brad Street active recreation parcel. So, would the board like to send a letter over to the Water Department? Okay,
I think that'd be a great idea.
okay. And we got some, oh, Tim, you would like to say something?
Unfortunately, I don't have all my numbers in front of me.
Right.
But we could use substantial amount of soil.
Okay.
So, whatever they're willing to donate to stockpile over there, we would be definitely useful.
I can't remember all the statistics that you brought in when you brought in the project for
Right,
down there.
right.
And,
But,
I think you were here that night too, weren't you, Laura?
There's,
Yes.
there's more than a few truckloads of soil for what's
Yeah.
going to happen over there and stuff. So
That would be, would be a great help and,
Yeah, we moved 30 truckloads on Monday,
Oh,
so
wow.
we're moving a lot of dirt.
there's a lot of area over there to stockpile as well.
Okay.
It's not like we got a tight area. So
okay, so.
Yeah.
whatever
We'll,
they-
we'll, we'll send a letter requesting, okay? Do I have a motion from the board to send a
I'll
letter?
make the motion, we
Okay.
grant whatever's available to use to get down to Brad Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Stu, would you like to say something? You, well,
I just think it would be
win-win situation. Town would save many thousands of dollars on the playing fields and keeps the soil right in town, and we're in all these projects together, and if the gears mesh smoothly, the whole town, it's for the good of the town.
Yeah, Stu was the one that brought this to, to our attention to the board.
Great idea.
Great idea.
Yeah,
Great idea.
Stu.
Very good, Stu.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest then that we have Tim Southwell be the point of contact for any
Sure.
logistical issues with getting the soil into that area and where it should go, in terms of, not on the conservation land, but in some area that would be appropriate?
So we'll send a letter over and then, have John contact with Tim and then,
Sure.
okay?
Excellent.
That sound good? I think everybody's happy for this. All right. Thank you, Laura, for coming in
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you, Laura.
Tim, thank you.
Timmy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, guys.
Good
Good
night,
night.
Laura. Have a good night. Okay. So. Ken, you want to come up? Okay, sorry about that. We were a little bit late tonight. We had an appointment at 7:30 with the building inspector to discuss zoning to discuss zoning administrator in ZBA case A 12-07-34 at 36 Pleasant Street. And
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I'll recuse myself as my son owns the property.
okay. Thank you, Stu.
It's a good idea.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could you just make a note that we have a sign-in sheet circulating, please?
Could everybody sign the sign-in sheet? I see Don has it already, Don Thurston, chairman of the ZBA.
It's true.
Ken, I'm gonna turn this over to you to start this off. Will you just give us the facts of this
Well,
case?
Can we do the zoning thing first?
Oh, sure,
Zoning administrator?
sure.
I have 11.
Okay. Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals, dear members, the appointed position of zoning administrator has never been in the job description of the building inspector, nor has there ever been a stipend for the position. I feel that I no longer can act as zoning administrator due to lack of support of the board. It has become increasingly clear that through your decisions that our interpretations of the zoning bylaws differ. Therefore, it is with deep regret that I am respectfully resigning my position as zoning administrator, respectfully Ken Ward. Okay. I'm kind of speechless, okay? We'll come back to this, okay?
Yeah.
On that
Yeah.
portion of it. Okay, on this case, okay, this is at 34 Pleasant Street.
Correct.
Okay, Ken, I'm gonna turn this over to you to begin.
Well, you've got copies of all my correspondence,
Yes.
and I responded to the board probably at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before the hearing. And I thought that it was laid out pretty well. Put a lot of thought into it, a lot of research, and the board, to my dismay, the board can obviously do whatever they want, but I feel that at this point, they have to justify what they did, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't see how they could do what they did. They issued a special permit under section 6.3 of the Rowley zoning protective bylaw. And the description of the proposed work says demolition and reconstruction of a two-family. in substantially the same location on the premises with a slightly modified footprint, but with the same overall square footage, more or less.
And this is the letter that you sent on June 6, 2012?
So many letters that,
Yeah, this has like 6 pages here. This is the
Yes,
case?
yes.
Okay. In that case, Ken, let me read this into the record, okay? Okay. This is from Ken Ward. This is dated June 6, 2012. This is in reference to case 1207, Administrative Appeal, George Hasseltine, 34 to 36 Pleasant Street. Dear Chairman Thurston and board members, I would like to take this opportunity to offer my rebuttal to the statements made in Exhibit A, narrative of proposal include in the application for an administrative appeal and other special permits submitted by Mr. Hasseltine's attorney and attached to this letter as attachment A. In my April 18, 2012 response, attachment B, to an inquiry from applicant dated April 5, 2012, attachment C, I offer my opinion that the pre-existing non-conforming use of the property has been lost due to being discontinued for a period of 2 years or more. This opinion is also shared by the Rowley Town Council in 2 memos, one sent to Chairman Thurston dated April 2, 2012, attachment D, which was shared with me by Town Administrator, in another sent to myself dated April 17th, 2012, attachment E. This opinion is based on the following excerpt from our own zoning bylaws. 5-1 discontinuance. 5-1-1 non-conforming uses and structures may be continued as provided in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6. However, if a non-conforming use is abandoned, it shall not be reestablished, and any future use shall be in conformance with this bylaw. A non-conforming use shall be deemed to have such abandoned regardless of whether the owner/operator intended to abandon such use. If the use is discontinued or not used for a period of 2 years or more. In addition, I would like to respond to the applicant's claim that I am confusing the building code with the zoning bylaw. According to Rowley's zoning bylaw, 6-3-1, a building in existence on May 1st, 1981 may be converted into one or more dwelling units than it originally contained, subject to the criteria and conditions specified in this section. If the applicant in this letter dated April 5th, 2012, attachment C, had asked me if the existing home at 34 to 36 Pleasant Street could be converted into a 2-family home under the section of the bylaw quoted above, I would have been able to answer it in the affirmative. However, please note that the first sentence of the last paragraph on page 2 refers to section 6.3 as an offering in an alternative approach to reconstructing a two-family home, and the plans submitted with his letter show virtually new construction. Since our bylaw is very clear on the type of building, one in existence on May 1st, 1981, I felt that a determination had to be made on what would be considered either an existing building or a new building. Since our bylaw does not define at what point in the reconstruction a building would be viewed as a new building, I refer to Building Code Massachusetts has been governed by the 2009 International Building Code since August 4th, 2011. There are several different types of codes, including the residential code, the building code, the existing building code. Since the applicant is proposing a reconstruction of the existing building at 34 to 36 Pleasant Street, one would first look in the existing building code. As I stated in my letter dated April 18, 2012, attachment B, if the proposed modifications could meet the conditions under level 1 or 2 of the existing building code, a permit would be issued to the applicant in conforming to the IEBC and could apply for a two-family conversion. However, if the modifications applied to more than 50% of the aggregate area of the building, which the plans included with the applicant's letter suggest, the project would fall under level 3 in the IEBC, which means that the project must conform to the IRC International Residential Code, which is for new construction. Ultimately, the simple answer to the applicant's question, and the one that I think most of us would have to agree with, is that if the existing home is completely reconstructed from the foundation up, it is obviously not a building in existence in 1981. I have attempted to use the definition found in the building code to reinforce what should be a simple determination. It is common practice for those charged with enforcing the zoning bylaws to look to reputable sources when the zoning bylaws does not clearly define a term or use, although I believe that in this case the zoning bylaw is very clear. I have taken the additional step of using the International Building Code's definition of new residential construction versus existing building construction in an attempt to remove any doubt about what kind of building meets the definition of a home in existence on May 1st, 1981. I do understand that the Historic Commission has approved and supports design of a proposed two-family home reconstruction, and I would suggest if the town or its representatives feel inclined to make this project possible, they entertain a zoning amendment to our zoning bylaws that would either include reconstructed homes in the definition of the buildings in existence on May 1, 1981, or delete the reference to a cutoff date altogether. I would gladly support the effort if this is the direction the town chooses to take. I trust that this letter will clear up any confusion in regards to the applicant's administrative appeal in multiple choice special permit application. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions. Sincerely, Ken Ward, Building Inspector. And this was sent to Board of Selectmen and Attorney Judy Pickett. So back to you, Ken.
Okay. Under 6.3 of the zoning bylaws, conversion of existing buildings. What does conversion mean? In the dictionary, conversion means to convert. It doesn't mean to rebuild, reconstruct. It's clear by what they gave a special permit for. What was asked for was demolition and reconstruction. In our bylaws, all through our bylaws, it deals with reconstruction, but not under conversion of existing buildings. I believe that if this project is allowed to go forward, that the whole town is open up. Anybody can tear down any building and go under the Board of Appeals is open the floodgates, and they can use 6.3 in any particular case they want to. And my problem is I don't have a problem with that particular job site. I'd like to see something done down there. It's been an eyesore for years and years. However, it is out of the central district. It's a first lot in the outlying district. Two families are not allowed there. And clearly, this doesn't fall under conversion of an existing building, in my mind. I'm here because I don't know what else to do. I have talked to town council, and I am the only one that can appeal this as I have standing.
Okay.
I'm looking for guidance. This would be a forum for the Board of Appeals to explain why they did what they did. I don't understand. And again, as I said in my letter as a zoning administrator, there's been a pattern over the years, and it's just come to a head. philosophically, we have major differences. And I don't see any resolvement.
Okay. Any questions from the board to Ken at this particular time? With that, I'm going to talk to Don. Okay. Don, you're the chairman of the ZBA. You want to come forward a little bit, Don?
Me in the hot seat, huh?
Yeah, get in.
Okay, Don. You heard Ken. He's coming forward to us tonight with his letter. And could you give anything from the, as chairman of the ZBA, your position?
Okay. I'll start with abandonment. Abandonment is, according to our bylaw, any structure that's been vacant for 2 years. The old bylaw used to say, vacant for 2 years, and it was left up to discretion, the intent. Now our bylaw says whether it was intended to be vacant or not. The individuals that lived in this house years ago were removed from that house for health reasons.
Okay.
Board of Health condemned the building, and the town has been living with this eyesore ever since. And the persons involved passed away, and the property was left to their heirs, and they put it up for sale. Peter Dalzell bought the property. He came to us and wanted to build a single-family home there, of which we gave him permission to do. Thought it was going to be the answer to. We this Historic District Commission turned their plan down, and Mr. Dalzell's partner backed out. So he put this building up for sale. And then Mr. Hazeltine came along and wanted to build a two-family home. We wrestled with the bylaw, and I realized that some of the things in the bylaw we probably went against, but we worked with common sense. Ken works with people one-on-one. We worked with the community. We had the support of the Historic Commission. We had the support of all the butters. And Marcy Boyd, in my opinion, said it all. We've wrestled with this thing for years and years, and every time somebody's tried to do something, there's been a stumbling block. And she says, please, do something. So we did.
Okay. Tom Heidegard from the CBA. Tom, you're here tonight. Tom, you have anything to add to that?
Well, I would point out to the board that I think what has transpired here from our perspective is that we were faced with an opportunity to review a decision potentially on a property that had had a lot of issues in the past about how it could be best handled. And fundamentally, unfortunately, I think this is essentially an issue of due process. I think there are some opinions, as Ken points out, that are different about what the ultimate interpretation of our zoning laws might be. And we recognize that there's room for that interpretation to vary. But I think this is fundamentally a situation where an applicant approached in proper manner and process, our building inspector, questioned him about his opportunity to make the changes he wanted to a property he was proposing to buy. And the building inspector gave a very thoughtful and well-researched opinion about what, in his mind, were the issues that were facing him. Mr. Don pointed out closely one was an issue of abandonment on the property, and the other came down to the status of the non-conforming use. It was our board's opinion that circumstances in the case warranted making a decision in favor of the applicant in view of the nature of the property. It's merely a difference of opinion. I don't think it's something that's systemic. I don't think it's something that I view on the board as something that we willfully choose to undermine our building inspector. We work closely with Ken for as many years as I've been on the board, which is about 8 at this point. You know, certainly this is not an instance where we're looking to set precedent. There were a lot of unique cases. Another property that might come to Ken's attention where someone said, I'm tearing it down because they did it over on Pleasant Street. We expect the same decision. Each case has its own merits and has to be looked at. I don't think it's a question of the board trying to undermine Ken or certainly creating an issue for any other board in town.
Any questions from the Board of Selectmen? Oh, Kurt Bryant, from Chairman of the Planning Board, is in the audience.
I mean, obviously, the inspectional department, the ZBA and planning board need to work closely together because we are the board that interprets zoning. We're the boards that issue special permits, site plan approvals, which ultimately lead to building permits and the ability for commercial and residential projects to go forward. Rowley has added more zoning delineations over the years, but I know that the 25 years that I've lived here or more, the outlying district has always been somewhat problematic in terms of grandfathering issues, and having these issues come before the planning board. People don't want to go through the planning board process, the site plan review process, so they take an end run and go to the ZBA. And sometimes over the years I've agreed, sometimes I haven't agreed. And in this case, I made it clear to Tom and Don that in this case I don't agree. I agree, obviously, that's a building that needs to be rehabbed, to be rebuilt, as Ken does as well. But to set a precedent that the criteria, which are set out, there are criteria for when you can grant variances and when you can grant special permits, and when there's a denial and there's a process that, and you had referred to due process. It's not due process when it doesn't fit the criteria both in the building code and it doesn't fit the criteria all. You can't just go for a variance or a special permit when it fits one of the criteria. In other words, that abutters like it. That's one, and it's an important one. It's one that we take in the public hearing process. I take it as a chairman extremely seriously. Read every letter, try to act on every letter, try to go through let everyone air out their, we're going through this at Carriage Pines with 40 houses. But to simply say that's, and all due respect on it, that that's an overriding criteria for why you can overrule the building inspector, to me is a very bad precedent to set. Okay, that's not why. I mean, sometimes you listen to abutters, but sometimes they're way off base. Sometimes they're right on the money. You can't just poll the abutters and then have there's a building code. There's that's transitioned to the international building code that actually defines what is a reconstruction, both in a quantitative way and a qualitative way. And I've seen situations where people are operating and making a mockery of the zoning here by operating without occupancy permits. We need to coalesce as a group, as the planning board and the ZBA and the building inspector. Once we want to promote business, we want to make the process streamlined, we want to make the process reasonably, as far as fee structure. We want to attract businesses, but we're not going to when people come in and they don't know what's going to happen. You know, I think this can be worked out before it gets to this point in this kind of forum. It should have been worked out amongst the zoning interpretive boards, and you know, and not get to this point. You just can't. I you know, like I said, in all due respect, I don't agree with the criteria. I've seen people come before the ZBA with completely bogus receipts saying they've operated a business and the grandfathering never went away. Totally. And there's no way of verifying that. And abutters will, because they can just say, here, come in and support that. And so that's why the building inspector has to be diligent and vigilant to make sure that the interpretation of the zoning, unless it's changed. I'm all for changing zoning that doesn't make sense. But that's why we should, and change it. And that's why we have a zoning review board. And in this case, if it doesn't fit, we have other cases in the town. Commercial, light manufacturing, you know, the industry coming into town on the right side. You see that one. Until we change, we got to make something fit there. But you have to change it. You can't go through this process and just go to the ZBA and all of a sudden, you know, it just happens, in my opinion.
Ken, you are the chief.
I want to say one thing first.
Sure.
I just want to correct something that Dawn said. The history of the property. Ken Murphy had a hard time with the historic district, but he finally got his house approved. The Board of Appeals granted a special permit for him to build a single-family house there. Things didn't work out. When it came time to get it, my understanding from the owner of the property is that he couldn't come up with the money. He had something else going on, so that didn't work out. Another buyer came by. But that was approved for a single-family dwelling. And the other thing I want to point out, and the zoning does allow it, but the single-family house that was approved there, on the decision, it said that it was less detrimental. It was going to be set back farther. It wasn't the same size. On and on and on. Okay, it was a win-win situation for everybody. The neighbors were happy. Everybody was happy. I would have been ecstatic if that house had been built. Under the conversion, you need 60,000 plus another 5,000 square feet. Okay? Now the board can grant it for less. But I just want to point out that that lot is less than 12,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay? It's not set back 25 feet. It's where the foundation is now, which is a little more than 12 feet from the street. So that's just another reason why I don't think that that should have been approved. Now, if I'm hearing Don right, and I wasn't at the meeting, but if I'm hearing him right, are you saying that you didn't approve that as 6-3, you approved that as a two-family?
And we approved this two-family.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the board disregarded my opinion and disregarded town council's opinion, and they approved it as a two-family. I was under the impression they approved it under 6-3,
The 6-3. So
which is
just
the
to-
conversion.
Just to clarify that, so clarify what just said for the audience. What you just said, clarify, just state that.
According to Don, he just told me that they issued a special permit for a two-family,
Right.
even though it's not allowed in the district because they didn't think the use had gone away, even though town council, in a memo to them and to me, in my opinion, is that it had gone away. It's clear in our bylaw.
So, John, you have a rebuttal for this? Ken? Or Tom?
Yeah, I believe, and I'm looking for a copy of the decision. I've got, let's see,
I have it, Tom.
have you got one too? I got one. I think, I just want to clarify that issue. The board found that it did grant a special permit under 6.3.1.3 to convert the building to a family, not as a two-family. We had
To
found.
convert it to a two-family.
Converted as it's allowed. It's to have found it as a two-family would have been acknowledging that the use had never been abandoned, but the board could not reach that conclusion. We were convinced that the former two-family use in fact had been abandoned, so that it was in fact at that point only something that could be converted to a two-family use. We weren't grandfathering it or finding that it was a two-family moving to a family. So we did find it under 6.3.1.3 to convert it as Ken suspected.
Okay.
Which would have been the appropriate way to find it. We didn't find it as a grandfathered use.
Which brings me back to my point,
Yep.
okay, about the conversion. How can you convert something that you're tearing down and rebuilding? How is that a conversion?
Gentlemen, this is a case that involves more than a matter of, there are perhaps some zoning setback issues. Does it look all right in the neighborhood? Does it offend anybody? Does it change the structure? It's more involved than that. As Ken has pointed out, there are some very technical interpretations of the building code that are required on his part to try to determine what the status of this new structure would be. And this was something that the board wrestled very, very hard with throughout the course of this hearing. It was ultimately our conclusion, based upon the historical story of the property, and not so much the question of clearly the abutters and interested community members were hopeful that something would occur. But here was an applicant who seemed ready, willing, and able to address an issue that would improve the property. And given the factors involved, we were able to conclude under the zoning bylaw, by our interpretation, which the process allows us to do, that it could be built. It's very conceivable, gentlemen, that another 5-member ZBA would reach a different decision. The recent decision in front of the Supreme Court regarding the healthcare law had 5 gentlemen believe that it's absolutely constitutional, 4 who believed it is absolutely not. It's a difference of opinion. It's not a question of being right or wrong in our opinion.
And I understand that this piece of property is an eyesore and it has been there for a long time. And we've been trying to do something. The town has been trying to do something, and the board, and everyone. But personally, myself, I don't see something well-defined before the ZBA in the bylaw about your decision. I don't see it, something clear that tells me that, Ken is incorrect in his decision. So, I need something to grasp onto here, and I just don't see that.
I wonder, Mr. Chairman, I wonder if a moment we could ask Attorney Costa, who represents the applicant, to help add some additional insight to that.
I don't, you should have the town attorney, if you're gonna have one.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was gonna say. I would let him speak tonight, but our attorney is not here.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm just looking for clarification.
Yeah, I understand. But again, I'm looking for something, some hard fact for me to hold on to. I understand the gut feeling, and I understand the piece of property. It's an eyesore, wants to do something, but there's nothing there, a hard bylaw for me to hold on to sway me one way or the other. And I don't know how the board feels about this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've come to a conclusion that I probably shouldn't even be sitting here. And I need to make a declaration in that my brother is a direct abutter to that property. So therefore, I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion.
Okay. All right. Jack, Joe?
As a life resident of the town, I can say that I knew the Savages that grew up there, one of our previous board members. Doug Savage lived. It was a two-family house. And it really, I hear it from the neighbors
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
Call me, not mention names. It's an eyesore. What are you gonna do when the thing collapses? It catches a fire. It's a hazard down there. Something's gotta be done. And this is the opportunity. I think that if we could work something out, I mean, I'm all in favor of improving that. To myself, there was two families lived there, right up through the 60s, 70s, and when the other half of the house, one of the brothers had moved out, he passed away, and it ended up that there was just half of the family, the side towards Bob's brother-in-law, Rogers, and it just got deteriorated. And if you walked in the back there 10 or 15 years ago, at one time they had to put a new roof on. It had caved. I think if you went in back now, it's a safety hazard for someone that could get in there, could start a fire. There's animals in there. And the biggest thing in my mind down there, let's get it out of there and let's put something up that's to the community. I know that. I know we're all here different around with laws and whatever there is there. Something's got to be done down there. I mean, definitely got to be done. And the neighborhood down there, that's all I'm just saying is it.
Joe?
I think basically we agree that it is an eyesore and that there's something's got to be done. But we have to go by the bylaws that state, and you have to, and if we propose something that doesn't conform to the bylaw, you can't just vote to make a change without changing the bylaw. The bylaws are there to give us guidance. That's why we have the town bylaws.
And it's also, it's also why we have a zoning enforcement officer. I don't think it's a good precedent to set that in every individual case. I mean, I agree with Jack. I mean, there's so many, but a lot of residents, I mean, every family has a story. You know, there's so many, there's dozens, there's 100 stories in town. And every one of them deserves merit to be listened to and why people get into certain situations. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about setting a precedent, taking zoning and building code, and having one board undermine the zoning enforcement officer and changing it. And I don't disagree that something needs to be done there. It took a long time for something to be done downtown, you know. Thank God that Ken did what he did in a difficult economy. You know, and Mr. Hamilton did what he did. I mean, without a doubt. But that's not what we're talking about here. That's not the issue. It's not the you can't just be talking about that. Otherwise, you might as well throw out the zoning book and just talk about people's family histories. Why have zoning?
Yeah, we have my heart and my brain in here tonight, you know, and my heart says one thing and my brain says another thing. But it's the bylaw. What's the bylaw say? And you know, once we throw that out, I mean, it's chaos.
How do you think I feel?
So,
Well, I think it's time that we got to sit down and put some teeth in. I mean, because that could still sit there, right? 10 years from now, that building could still be there. Am I right? Until something happens. Now, what do you do if someone gets hurt in there?
Well,
You know, some child goes in there or something, or you get a fire, a danger, something else in there. I mean, I know what Kurt's saying there too. The bylaws are in place in there, but there's got to be a little leeway there, something there too. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in next door. I mean, we got them all over town.
That property could be sold, torn down, rebuilt as a single family at any time, Jack. The issue is a two-family. That's the issue. It's not tearing it down, it's not rebuilding it as a single family.
Anything.
The issue is rebuilding it as a two-family. It's not allowed in the outlying district.
Except by special.
Excuse me, Tom?
It's not allowed in the outlying district, the two-family. Two families are not allowed in the outlying
A
district.
conversion.
A conversion, not a rebuild.
Another thing I think, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all.
I think, given there are different opinions here about interpretations of what the bylaw should be and whether we should try to read by the letter of the law and the board, sounds to me like the board is not confident, as has been presented tonight, that there is sufficient grounds in the bylaw to sustain the decision that the ZBA made. It seemed, if that's the case, I mean, when I first learned of this meeting, what I said to Don was, what's the objective? What is the action the board is looking to do? It seems to me that if the normal process of events occurs, what you could only do is encourage Ken to appeal this decision. If that occurs, it's very, very likely that what will happen is ultimately this will come back in front of the board. It will ultimately get hashed out.
Yeah.
There'll be some definitive decision at some point in time. In the interim, it's very, very likely that the property will simply, that the current deal, at least this is one scenario, I'd say the current deal on the property will be lost. The current applicant will not proceed forward with it because his interest is evidently as a two-family, not as a single family, which we had prior approved. And then Ken's right, at any point in time, someone could come before the board and submit an application to him for a single family, and we'd have to review exactly what kind of single family they would build, but certainly that would be something that we would be happy to see. But it would substantially stop the process now, and it would simply put everything off for the unforeseeable future. Now, Ken's point is very well taken. Don and I are members of the zoning review committee. The zoning review committee is looking at this particular point. What is exactly a house in existence in 1981? We've tried to study the derivation of what the logic is behind that. We could only identify thoughts that suggest that at that point in time, the idea is that that's when that was written and it was crafted so that anything going forward wouldn't occur. It was an arbitrary point of time that was identified because that was the thinking at the time. There's some different thinking clearly in place now, and I do think that all the boards have to work in concert. And that it would have been nice if, in a case like this, instead of getting to this situation, we had all sat down and said, ooh, this is a sticky wicket we got here, guys. How do we settle this? How can we, Ken saying, I got a real problem from the building point of view, and I'll tell you why. And this is where the dilemma is. Kurt pointing out, I want to see more detail about what they're doing. We're trying to figure out, how do we address a use issue that looks like it went away, and how do we get to where Jack is? If you at this point say, Ken, I think the only thing you can do is appeal it, all the conversation stops. The applicant probably goes away. That's your call. I mean, we made the judgment we did from the ZBA's perspective based upon the information and our interpretation. We always try to do the best we can in the interests of the town.
Going back though, like I said, it was a double occupancy house way back.
There's no doubt about that,
Yeah,
Jack.
but I mean,
that was
no, but what do you
before-
leave off, Ken, when these people had moved out and no one had moved in? So in other words, that just breaks it down to a single family home right now. Years back, there was
The problem,
places.
The problem, Jack, is that is the first lot in the outlying district now, okay? They changed the district since that house was built.
So that don't go grandfather from 81 and back then, right?
No, not only that, but the use was abandoned or discontinued, and it doesn't even have to be voluntarily, okay? It was abandoned for more than 2 years. It's been since 1995,
Yeah,
Jack.
yeah.
I mean, it's not even, it's not even close.
No,
It's
no,
not
I
even-
know that, yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir, I take it you're the counsel for,
I am for the applicant.
I cannot let you permit you to speak tonight, okay? Only because town council is not here to represent us.
Okay, and is that the case even if I'm not pursuing any legal arguments? I certainly don't intend to try to persuade the board. I'm not gonna re-argue my case.
Well, my feeling is that you're up and you're about to speak, and you're going to speak on behalf of this case and probably give a legal argument. So I'm sorry, I can't permit you to speak unless town council is present.
Understood.
All right,
Potentially
thank
an
you.
internal board matter now, that's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why do we even have a Board of Appeals, Bob? If it's gonna go right by whatever the
Peter,
law says.
Peter, I hear you, and this is a difficult case, okay? But there's nothing here, I don't have a piece of the law here, one way or the other, okay? Well, I do have one way, but I don't have one the other way telling me, permitting this, okay? And if I had something, it's more a gut feeling I feel from the ZBA than a rational decision on their part. With the bylaw presented to me. Now, the other members of the board see this differently than myself.
No, that's
Okay.
that's it.
And, if we, go with the ZBA decision, I think we set a precedence. That down the line here, that this comes back to bite us. And I've sat on the planning board, and I understand this. And this could come back, God knows in what venue in the future, to be an absolute nightmare. And we have the bylaws are written, to guide us and to protect us. I may feel one way, that doesn't make a tinker's damn. It's the law, what the law says in the book, and that's to guide me and to guide both boards. With that, Ken, you're requesting tonight from us?
Direction.
Okay. So you are request legal counsel from the board? Do I have a motion from the board, from the building inspector, to ask for legal counsel?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Under Robert's rules, it's permitted for me to make a second as chairman.
I think a rule of necessity.
Excuse me?
The rule, yeah, it's a 3-member board at this point.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jack, you abstain? Okay. Okay, so,
So, Mr. Chairman, just so we have this correct in the minutes, is it that the motion is to provide the building inspector with legal counsel?
for legal counsel. This is a very difficult situation we have before us. We have a piece of property down there that's been there for years and years and years. And again, I state, there's an emotional side of this, and there's also a logical side of this. And we have to go the logical road here, only because this, down the road, could set a precedence, and this come back to bite the town. And also, Ken is the chief enforcement officer for the town. And I think the decision he put together here, makes complete sense.
He presented you with a letter.
Yes,
this
I
letter.
know.
I don't think that's necessary.
Would you consider at this time withdrawing it?
I would ask you to reconsider this. Okay.
I put a date on it, but I want you to have it.
Okay. Does the board have any feeling on this letter from Ken?
Suppose I can talk at this time.
Sure.
I would recommend that we do not act on that tonight. That we maybe take Ken into a dark closet and
Well, one of the points that I brought up, I've been doing this since 1999, except for when I wasn't here for a year and a half, whatever it was, and I've never got paid for it. That's not part of my job description.
well,
And I'm not trying to hold anybody hostage to get paid for it. I really don't want the job.
well, I'm sorry to hear that part of it, Ken, that you don't want the job. I mean, if there's.
Well, I feel that I've been disrespected. I submitted that letter, okay, and nobody on the board even called me. They just made the decision. Nobody even called me to talk about it. They had it for at least 2 weeks or longer. Nobody ever called me if they had any questions. How would you feel?
Well, I can sympathize with you, I guess. We are reviewing some of the job descriptions. Hopefully we could meet that particular portion of it to your satisfaction. Some of the other things, I'm not sure that we can as the Board of Selectmen, but I would just suggest that we don't act on it tonight.
Are there any other board members have a feeling on this?
I would agree with Mr. Murray.
I agree also. All right.
Well, it's very clear that I went through the job description. It's very clear that it isn't in the job description, so.
Board does not wish to act on that tonight. Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, there was an indication from Judy Pickett at one point for us to remove the words zoning administrator, because the zoning administrator is the building inspector in the town. Only zoning administrators are in cities. The enforcement officer is the building inspector.
But we never acted on it. So it's still in the bylaw that way.
Still in the bylaw that way.
Right.
As the Board of Appeals or the zoning administrator, not the building inspector.
Well, any other comments from you, the board? Or
No.
Tom, or,
No, thanks for the opportunity.
all right. Again, this is, it's not easy, this is emotional. This is the second time or third time I think this has come up before us, this location. Okay.
I'm gonna make a suggestion, and nobody's gonna like what I'm gonna say. If this is appealed, I would suggest that the town buy that property from Mr. Dalzell and tear the place down and be done with.
I like it, Don.
Well, again, wish there was something I could see in the bylaw to direct me in the opposite way, but I don't see anything. Okay.
I would just like to say, Mr. Chairman, what Don said. I mean, it's an eyesore. I mean, I know I went out on a little bit of a limb tonight, but I mean, hey, I'm just looking for the neighbors. I know we do. It's how, you know what I mean? It's a can of worms. Let's put it that way down there. And we got to shape it up down there. It's a real eyesore, and it's not going against Ken or anyone. That's I'm just taking my own opinion what's down there. something's gotta be done down
It's
there.
not the only
Whether the
building either.
Dalzell's own it or who
One,
gets
two
it.
houses down the street that's down the road that's got to be dealt with too. So
That's right,
Yeah, there's
That's it,
There's a
Ken.
few, Jack.
yeah.
If I could offer my opinion, when Peter brought
You
in
know.
his pictures,
Yeah.
his drawings for that single house, I thought, you know, it would be
I thought it was
just a
doing
great
good for the
improvement.
town.
It would be a wonderful.
And I'm friends with Stu.
Sorry that didn't work out.
Peter. I'm just saying my thing down there. I mean, they're trying to improve the area. I know we got, there it is. You got A to Z, you got the bylaws, but I mean, there's something that we gotta look, you know,
No
it's
one's
gonna
disagreeing with
look
that.
Huh?
No one's disagreeing.
No, I don't think anybody here, you know, Jack, I think we all agree with what you're saying. You know, it is an eyesore.
Every time I go by, they look, you know, I'm just hoping,
But there's nothing in the bylaw to take us in another direction.
no, I know. It's
All right.
catch here or there. But, hey,
And there are others that are paying close attention to these proceedings and how it comes out.
Exactly. This, you know, this piece of property is like a bad ham sandwich, keeps coming up.
just hoping something gets done down.
Mr. Chairman,
Stu?
I would just like to ask, the ZBA meets a certain time every month, one night a month. If Ken had a problem then, why didn't he go into one of their meetings?
I didn't have a problem until after they made their decision. I submitted the letter to them before the hearing, and then they made their decision.
All right, gentlemen, I don't think there's nothing else we can do here tonight, all right? All right. Thank you. Thank you again for all coming in. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm recusing myself.
Oh, okay. We're going to old business right now.
Get a cold drink, Bob.
Okay, old business number one, request update from the Rowley Municipal Light Plant Board of the Lighting Commissioners on the audit status. The Board of Light Commissioners, at the request of the Board of Selectmen, voted during a joint meeting of October 11, 2011, to have a forensic audit and a fraud risk assessment conducted due to questions and concerns over the disposition of salvage. Since we are now going into month of August, Chairman Snow feels it is important to get an update of the status of the audit report. Chairman Snow has requested that the board send an inquiry to the Board of Light Commissioners. Any questions from the members of the board?
I think personally, the letter is a little bit overdue, that we should have had a report by now. Since October 11th, this has been going on, and we haven't seen any report on the audit. I think we should send a letter.
Do I have a motion from the board to send a letter?
I wasn't a member of the board then when all this,
Okay,
yeah, I'm just
But
gonna,
you can-
listen.
okay. Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second to send a request from the board to the light commissioners? Okay, I don't have a second, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to personally send the letter from myself to the Board of Light Commissioners, to the Board of Light Commissioners, asking for the results of the audit. Okay? And that's it, and, okay, announcements. There are vacancies on the Historic District Commission and the Historical Commission. So anybody interested, please contact with the office here. Rowley Food Pantry is in need of donations. The food pantry is open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Thursdays 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Again, you can drop your donations off at the food pantry at those particular times, or you can drop your donation off at the Rowley Library. And There's a food basket located in the lobby, correct, Joe?
Correct.
Okay. With that, there is no other business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.